Happy Bitcoin Friday afternoon, freaks. It's your boy Odell here for the second of a Citadel Dispatch doubleheader on this Bitcoin Friday. I am fortunate enough to be joined by previous guest of the pod and good friend, rockstardev. How's it going, Rockstar?
Always amazing when we're together, Matt. So always amazing.
It's been a big week.
It has been. I mean, we've been on panel together, then a workshop on privacy, and a funeral tomorrow. You really have this Bitcoin part going with events.
So the funeral that Rockstar is talking about he is ending this Nyms. He's ending this identity tomorrow. And I'm going to have the honor of conducting the funeral. Is that the word?
Yeah, leading the funeral, really,
Yeah.
with your beautiful voice. And I can't wait for the eulogy. You don't want to share any details of the eulogy yet.
Very good eulogy.
Well, I hope so.
No, I don't want to build it up too much. It's my first eulogy. I've never given one before.
Oh, so I'm your first. Nice.
Yeah, and you're gonna actually be listening to it, which is like it adds extra pressure.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm still hoping you jump into casket with me.
There, no shot. Not gonna happen.
Okay.
It's important to set expectations correctly. So last time you were on the show, when was the last time you were on Dispatch?
No, that's a hard question. I guess it's been like
If
4 months.
If I was Stefan, I would already have that information available, but I really do not know.
I don't know. You're good with episodes. I love how you have those favorite episodes, and someone mentions some topic, and you're immediately like episode 43.
Well, 43 is
Yeah, it's
for beginners episode. That's an important one to remember.
yeah.
Shout out to Q&A for helping with that.
Shout out to him. I hope you like how Matt and me have delivered with those stamps. We have whole Miami with no KYConly.com stamp. That was a good one. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he was happy about that. We argued about that on air.
Oh, which episode is that?
Oh, I guess we didn't argue. Like we didn't argue about it. We talked about it. We planned that out. Me and you planned that out together on air.
Oh, I thought you were talking with him. Yeah, we planned it and we delivered. I mean, we even were planning when the conference was happening. You're like overwhelmed running open source stage. And I'm like, Matt, we have this like organizer lady here that's like, oh guys, you can't be stamping dollar bills. Like, and I'm like, Matt, help us out. And Matt's like, Matt, which hashtags should we use?
I was like, I don't know who those people are. Yeah. We have Communer in the comments saying, I'm listening to the pod from a few hours ago, and now there's another live one. LOL, relax.
No. We can't do that. Sorry, man. When Rockstar is in the house, we keep going hard. And
hopefully when by the time he hears this, he'll be listening to it on the podcast app in like a couple days. So, but shout out to him.
Well, yeah. If he doesn't want to be a rock star, then okay.
Yeah, I mean, my new strategy with Dispatch is, when I have good people in the area or I'm near them and I can do in-person conversations, I'm going to pump them out. And when I don't, I'm not going to waste my time or everyone else's time by just putting out episodes. And I don't like sitting on episodes because I feel like they age horribly. And I like the live format because then we have our all the freaks come and join us in the live chat. And
yeah, and we were talking about this yesterday at the bar. That it's really interesting format because some conversations can happen only in certain point of time.
Right.
So this whole thing with my funeral under quotation marks, it's tomorrow.
This is literally the last possible opportunity to interview a rock star.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I do wish I structured it a little bit better. because I did make some commitments after the funeral, but now I'm going for cameos, right? That's how it's called. So everyone is now asking for bit block boom, like who is Rockstar being there? And I just want to announce on your pod that it will be Gary Leland. He's gonna shave his head and be Rockstar. So that's who is attending and presenting BTC Pay Server Workshop with Brit. Yeah.
It's gonna be Gary Leland.
Yeah, my nephew,
I
my
love
oldest
Gary. He's a
nephew.
good dude.
Amazing dude.
So I guess let's start with, um, I really want to start with what I was, I can't stop thinking about today, and so I'd rather just have a conversation about it in the beginning, which is this whole situation with Tornado Cash. Um, the U.S. Treasury sanctioned the smart contract. Uh, they got pulled from GitHub. Infura and Alchemy, like the hosted Ethereum node providers, have blocked them. So if users aren't using their own node, they can't access the smart contract. About 15% of the liquidity in there, it was like $60 million or something like that, has been withdrawn since the sanctions happened. Some famous people got dusted. What else is there? Wrapped Bitcoin and USDC got frozen, and one of the 29-year-old developers got arrested in the Netherlands today.
Yep.
Lot of things to unpack there. I'm just curious. I mean, you're obviously um, you're everybody's uncle. You've been around for a minute. I'm curious on your perspective here. I mean,
Yeah, it is something that I've been thinking about even like as I was starting to contribute to BTC Pay server, because I don't know uh, how many people remember everything that happened through the history of BTC Pay server, but uh,
these comments are great. Sorry,
I need to
Marty always
read
gets
them.
mad at me when I read the comments when we're live. But
Nah, no, no, it's all about, as you say, it happens in the moment.
look at what SF said. Can't stay long. Got family over right now. Just checking in to say hi. In all caps, thank you, Rockstar Dev. Great work, killing it since you've been around. Good stuff.
Thank you, SF. Yeah, for me, I've been thinking about this, yeah, as I was even starting to contribute to BTC Pay server, and there were quite a few moments where um, you had situations where it's quite obvious that I mean, this is coming. As we proceed with separating money and state, it's insane to think that state will not fight back in some form, and we're still not at the stage where it's really direct conflict, but it's obviously indirect. Because this whole move to place smart contracts like on the OFAC list, and then like there must have been someone in that decision process who was like, how will we even enforce this? Like, like we there is no robust, there is no fair way to enforce the regulation. So like what are we doing here? And to me, like I've been thinking about that from the perspective of contributing to open source and BTC Pay server, because it's the same thing. It's like, hey, someone was running BTC Pay server instance, was accepting funds for,
Some kind of criminal activity or something.
yeah, something that's designated as a criminal activity in a local, regulatory region, and now like, oh, you created code that allows that, like, okay, it's your fault. um
Yeah, the slope gets really slippery if you start
it
if
app
if you start going after developers for the code they write.
Yeah, and again, like I don't know how many people remember, but I distinctly remember the moment where it's like, okay, it's great that I'm at least a nim, well, although yeah, I'm not so good on this nim, which is one of the reasons why it's, yeah, getting killed. But
It's like good timing on the
yeah, it is. But
or maybe like a year ago would have been good timing.
well, no, I think it's still ahead of the curve, because do you remember when BTC Pay server was highlighted on Alex Jones?
Uh No, I don't remember that. When
Well,
was that?
what's the name of that defense decentralized, like Cody
Oh,
Cord?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he went on Alex Jones and shilled BTC Pay
Right,
servers.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and when I saw that on mainstream media, like it was like, oh, they were accepting Bitcoin to
Yeah.
print guns. I was like, okay, yeah, great that I'm at least
Here
them.
comes the hornet nest.
Yeah, here comes the hornet nest, and only later do I learn I'm gonna dox you, but it's a Bitstein. He had his strategy general hands in all of that, but
Of course.
it's
I
quite
mean,
fun.
BTC pays perfect for that.
Hey, BTC Pay is perfect as a part of your sovereignty stack, and again, it,
It allows anyone to accept money anywhere in the world without permission.
yeah, and if you're really at the point where you need to do all this crazy stuff with controlling money flows, you need to stop and start to think like, why am I in this position? Like, why am I forced to track money movements on the level that's like even today? Like something is wrong with the system. Like let's go a few steps back and see what is wrong instead of like what will they do now that where famous people got dusted? Like will they arrest Brian Armstrong?
Well, the thing
You
is like
know?
Brian can't prove that he didn't
Yeah,
withdraw the tornado cash himself.
exactly.
And
So
I mean, like the first one's like a little bit, like whoever did the first dusting, like dusted point one to like a lot of celebrities, pretty much at the same time. But like if they just kept, if that just keeps happening over and over again at different amounts, different days, different stuff like that, then all of a sudden it gets really, really messy. Part of the thing that I mean, you mentioned, like how is it possible to like enforce this stuff? And like enforcement is obviously difficult. Um, but like one of the main parts of sanctions is like this chilling effect that sanctions do because it's such a um, it's such a high penalty environment, and it's a lot of it's very vague. So people are scared. I even we are like the way we're saying our words, we're like watching ourselves on our words, and like I just want to be clear, like everyone should follow their local laws and not evade
oh,
sanctions.
absolutely.
But there's this chilling effect, and I part of me wonders like if they were just chilling there in the U.S. Treasury or the Biden administration. There's some rumors that like the directive came directly from the Biden administration. If it was like, hey, like all these so-called DeFi projects and stuff are like all super interconnected, and a lot of them have like central choke points and stuff. Let's just sanction this address. Let's just sanction this contract address and just see what hell breaks loose. Because like a lot, it's not now. All the different services are trying to cover their ass, right? And kind of watch how it all unfolds. Like maybe someone was just,
Yeah, but
it's an exploratory thing.
if they're really exploring in that direction, I mean, it's pretty fucked up.
No, it's really fucked up.
Yeah.
But it kind of to me felt like a fact finding kind of thing. Like let's see what happens. Like tip of the spear kind of. It was a very easy thing for them to do. They literally just updated a blog post with like the contract address, and then they like press send tweet, and then they like go to bed, and they're like, let's see what happens in the morning.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have any any semblance of a reasonable person, like the idea
Yeah.
that you can do that is, what maybe not when you wake up the next day, but the next day when you wake up, you need to start thinking, okay, like, is this really how systems should operate? Like that you need to arrest a developer in Netherlands who's like contributing to open source project on GitHub, and do you really want to live in a world where like someone updates their blog post? Like that's a great way you
Is
said it.
literally all they did was
Y-
update their blog post.
yeah, and now you have thousands of people around the world covering their ass. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I don't want to live in that system. It's just stupid. Like I
But
want to
we
live in a
do. That's the
system.
system we live in.
Well, yeah. Well, we keep building towards a better system because in this one, it's like what did you even solve the problem? Like that's my point. Did you like solve the problem, or you have covered your own ass? Like I don't see that.
It's just a bunch of people scrambling to cover their own ass after the blog post update is basically what it
Yeah,
is.
and even like that blog post update, it's a question: is it covering someone else's ass? You know.
What do you mean?
Well, there have been recent hires that are like cybersecurity initiatives and
They
all
need to
that
like
stuff.
prove that they're
Yeah,
doing
it's like
something.
yeah. So it's like, oh, I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Well, by doing
Like
your
it's not really stopping criminals from doing anything. It's just hurting law-abiding people,
it,
just people that
it's
care.
even wasting the resources of law abiding people and then, like criminals themselves. Like, okay, yeah, it's higher chaos environment in which it's easier to operate because you have better structure, better system. Like it's not you getting arrested. It's now the whole narrative is not about okay, let's look into what's actual crime that's happening here, and let's see too if someone is doing something really wrong. Let's bring them to justice. Like we're talking here about oh, like developer got arrested. Should GitHub do this? Should like conversation is in completely different arena, and yeah, it's waste of resources
It was
essentially.
a massive waste of resources, and I really don't think it deters most criminals. Like they're still are able to do whatever the fuck they want for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yep, yep. So I don't know.
So
I just feel bad for that dev that got arrested. So, and what I tweeted recently about this, it's just like this is coming, and this is
this was
why.
expected.
Yeah, this is why. Like I tweeted, like if you haven't even an ounce of technical skill, like get prepared because simply it will be as time goes on, it will be more and more attractive to control developers in a sense that code that you now publish has such a big impact
That you have a lot of value all of a sudden.
and you have a lot of value and like controlling your code and your impact like brings even more value. So basically yeah, like the first front line that I see as we continue this down this path of separating money and state, it will be like that's how they're going to target. They're going to target developers and code repositories and be like, okay, uh, Sarah tweeted today that was funny, like Satoshi Nakamoto arrested for inventing Bitcoin and facilitating money laundering. You know,
I mean, this is equivalent to like putting Bitcoin on the sanctions list or putting uh, Ethereum on the sanctions list, saying that whole project is facilitating crime
yeah,
and no one can use it.
it's
And
going in that
anyone
direction.
who develops and maintains it is liable for that.
Yeah,
Even though the precedent, at least in America, is that code is speech and protected.
yeah. Well, we will see soon enough. I mean, it seems like another.
It is one of those things that's like it could get struck down by courts, but if it takes like 2 or 3 years, the chilling effect is already done. They learned a lot from how the systems work by causing chaos. So like even though like the check is there, it doesn't really help that much in the short term, right?
Yeah, but the way that I look at it is, it's just it will go down the path of proof of work, man. We need to put in the work because, like, if you really believe in separating money and state, and you really have ability, like, it's obvious to you and me, like, why that is a good thing. Like, okay, do we really believe in it or not? Okay, we do. Then it's whatever it takes, man. It's uh they put Bitcoin Core repository on a what it is like sanctions list, or they like you're contributing to Bitcoin, you're facilitating money laundering. Okay, you need to fight. You need to show that it's a wrong approach. and
Do you
that's what
do you,
it's store. Yeah.
do you think that the priorities of most Bitcoin stakeholders, like, do you think we are prepared for what comes next? Are you troubled at all by the reactions over the last week of with all this stuff going on, or do you think we're in a good place as an ecosystem? I don't know how to phrase the question, but
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, especially Giacomo was presenting all those different camps in Bitcoin, right?
right.
Like speculators, technologists.
Yeah, in Vegas, right? He did that.
Yeah, yeah, unconfiscatable. You can Google, watch it on YouTube, Google the video. But I actually think we are, man, in a sense that everyone there are so many competing conversations, and then some conversations are like, oh, Bitcoin maxis,
Right.
uniformity of thought, this and that. But then there are questions of like, let's kick out commies out of Bitcoin. There are people that are more like collectivistically minded, and I always, when those conversations start popping up, I always remember "We Are All Satoshi" video. That like I'm in that video as well, and whenever I watch that video, I think it's so beautiful when you see how we come from all walks of life and like how all different identities and uh, people with different values are still unified by Bitcoin.
Right.
So, okay, maybe I don't agree with the sailor that we should assault Ethereum as a security or whatnot, but okay, someone has that viewpoint, and yeah, or Corey, like okay, that's their viewpoint.
Bitcoin is for enemies. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with all Bitcoiners.
Yeah, definitely, and it's like okay, we have that viewpoint represented. Like that's actually what everyone is trying. Like people are trying for that diversity, where it's really diversity of thought and viewpoint. And for Bitcoiners, it comes so effortlessly. It's not even like it's crazy. So
But just to go back, I mean, you said that developers should prepare accordingly.
yep.
Are most of the good developers in the space prepared accordingly? And what do they need to do to prepare?
Well, I would say we're actually pretty good prepared. I mean, we're involved with all these at this point. There are grants, there are VCs, there are investors. Like we actually have a pretty good network. So if any of us uh, gets attacked in such a way that you need to go to court and prove your innocence, like I would think there would be a fundraiser, there would be a community support, especially like for myself, I actually, yeah, I don't have any fear. Maybe some developers that are not not as popular, but I still like I look at yeah, I look at Bitcoin Core devs, the way they were defended by Jack Dorsey and everyone else, like represented against Craig Wright.
Yeah.
That was great. That was exactly what the doctor ordered. And uh, I mean, see, we even have like fundraisers. We have for non-developers, and it's a stressful ordeal. But
I felt like where you were going with it is um, that you think more developers should take their own privacy seriously.
sure, that's a second part of the of the answer where but I want to really emphasize this first part because for some of the developers that are super critical for the ecosystem, like it's not like they can just create a new name
Right.
and then
It'd
just
be
like
so obvious.
yeah, it will
Yeah.
be yeah, look at the code base and there needs to be at least some level of doxing and trust in order for collaboration to take part. Like you can't just accept. Well, it takes time to build a reputation.
Right.
To re-
If you have a new identity, you have to build the reputation up.
you need to build a reputation up. You need to build trust with other developers you're collaborating with. Otherwise, like I don't know, there are rockstar developers that can just join project and
But
take off.
you could also like there's different levels to this shit, right? And different trade-offs. I mean, you could do a situation where you create a new identity, you create a new NIM, and then through trusted channels you already have from Rockstar from the previous. I'm just
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
in
but
generalities from the previous identity. Those connections, if you already have trusted channels there, you tell a few of them, this is my new
but
thing, and then the greater world, you have more insulation from the greater world. It's not perfect, but you also are able to
but that's
speed up the
exactly
trust process or whatever, right?
that's exactly what I'm talking about, because that still requires certain level of trust, because
Of course.
once those other developers get subpoenaed and dragged into court, and it's like, who is this nib?
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's whoever.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. At certain level, you just need to provide environment in which collaboration can happen. One interesting thought that comes to mind is maybe we can have a like coin join for developers. Like I quit my rockstar dev name and I just start a new language and new project, and then some other great dev from another project joins BTC Pay server, so we can like mix developers. But yeah, in all
I mean, that
seriousness,
requires a massive level of trust too, right?
well, no, that one actually is way easier because like I've been coding for over 2 decades. So if I need to learn a new technology, a new project, it will be easier for me to do it. Plus, imagine Bitcoin Core developer switching to, I don't know, L&D project. They can they have easier time. Like they already have knowledge, but it takes some time to develop. But I think like those trading developers between projects can be interesting. However, if we want to go and expand on this, like developers preparing with their NIMs, uh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you know there is a piece of free open source software that you will be contributing in next 3 years, and you haven't started yet, like it's a great time to come up with NIM that's disconnected from everything. And sure, I mean, you can seed it with previous reputation, but it's best if you avoid it. And even in Bitcoin Core, we are lucky to have a few devs that are, pretty well set from the privacy standpoint, and they're not doxxed. So, uh, yeah,
We have a lot of those, I feel
yeah,
like.
like lately
Yeah.
people are joining. So, and what's the name of what's the name of the dev that was supported by Spiral,
Z-Man.
Z-Man, yeah, Z-Man.
He's got a nib so strong,
This, yeah, you can't
no one
even
can
like
remember
remember
it.
the name. It's like Z-Man. Okay,
It's a
that's fine.
Z plus a bunch of letters and numbers.
Hey, so yeah, that's inspiration, and even that he managed to get a grant on a name is, yeah,
Now, they said supposedly that they didn't dox him for that grant, but one of my concerns for a while has been, um, Spiral is not a 501c3 tax deductible organization.
yep,
So like Squares doesn't get, or Block isn't getting a tax deduction for those grants. It's basically just essentially facilitating their other business and making the Bitcoin network more robust, so it's worth it for them. So my understanding is they didn't have to dox him to give him that grant, but HRF grants and OpenSats grants, because they're tax deductible, you have to have them fill out a tax document, because otherwise you could be getting tax deductible status and just basically taking the money yourself. Um, so my concern is privacy developers or developers in general needing the money so badly that they they essentially dox themselves to the U.S. government and to whatever 501c3 organizations.
Yep, it's a valid concern, and we should do something about it. Like
Uh,
support more of those grants that are not tax deductible, and nothing is free. If you want to support privacy of devs, hey,
we
we,
also have bitcoindevlist.com
yep,
where you can donate directly to developers with Bitcoin with no middleman. Um, awesome. And also, what's really cool is I don't know if you're aware, Rockstar, but when freaks support Dispatch, they also support a bunch of open source projects directly through the streaming sats on Podcasting 2.0. So like when they stream sats, also some go to um, Raspberry Blitz, Zeus, RoboSats. I know I'm forgetting somebody. RoboSats, Sparrow, and Seed Signer.
let's go.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
No middleman. Um, yeah. So, what do you want to talk about, Rockstar? I got you in the
Um.
studio.
Yeah. I'm reading the comments here. Your privacy is as valuable as your freedom. Uh, you have that great hashtag. No privacy, no freedom.
No
Is
privacy, no freedom, no freedom, no wealth.
oh,
I
so there is
added
a
two
good.
more
Oh,
onto the end now.
so now you're connecting it. Um. No, I
Why is privacy important, Rockstar?
privacy. Well, we talked at the panel on that one, and it's important not only for what we said about like security versus convenience, right?
Yeah,
Uh, it is important for structuring your daily interactions in such a way that they are sustainable. And as a developer, to me, that's so intuitive, and I think it's intuitive to all of good developers. It's like when you're building a system, if you're making everything public, you just have a crazy mess where everything calls everything, nothing is structured, everything is mixed, is just not a good system. And you also look at the fact that uh, yeah, more wealth you have, the better privacy you have in your life. You're just not forced to disclose information that you otherwise need to disclose. I mean, here in US it's getting to crazy levels where like you apply for a job, you need to do background checks, social security just to apply for a job. Uh, while that doesn't apply to people that are in position of power. So yeah, to me it is a prerequisite because otherwise if you are not able to build a system where privacy is respected and afforded to everyone, it will just be like a terrible system to live in. It's yeah, it's also like another process comes to mind. I don't know, Matt, have you ever coded? But you know how when you're developing application, you are like debugging application, so you have access to all the internals of the app. But once app is done and you need to release it, you compile it and just make it into a package
right,
that now you can't probe the internals of it. Like, and okay, have you built a good app? Have you built a good system? It works. You don't need to poke into every single
right,
line. You just like let it run and it does what it was supposed to. If if you have created a shitty app, that's where you need to like go, okay, now I'm gonna attach debugger. Now I'm going to ship application with all debugging information. So now my executable is bloated, my system is bloated, like it's logging a bunch of stuff. It's slow, it takes so much more time. And that's what I'm seeing really with these systems is like government essentially issues some kind of regulation, and it's a regulation to ship executable with more debugging information. Okay, now everyone at the airport will need to,
take your shoes off,
yeah,
scan your face.
yeah, like, and it's like, okay, let's do it, but let's figure out a better way. Let's eliminate the bugs in the code. It's like, no, 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 no. More logging, more debugging. So get a better programmer, or Yeah. So
Well, I mean, we had I always go back I always go back to Eric Hughes, the Cypherpunk Manifesto,
yep,
1993.
yep.
Privacy is not secrecy. It's the ability to selectively reveal yourself to the world, to choose what you want to be public with proper consent for it. And when I think about no privacy, no freedom, if you don't have privacy, then individuals, entities can control you by using information against you that you didn't want available to them. So that's why freedom requires privacy. And the reason I take the next step is mostly for the pure so-called number go up Bitcoiners, which is you that wealth requires freedom, because if you don't have freedom, it's not your wealth. It can just be taken away from you. Um, so you put two and two together. If you don't have privacy, you can never be wealthy.
Yeah, well, if if you don't have privacy, what happens is the system becomes stale. Like those that are already wealthy are in much better position to stay wealthy. And it's a system that leads into like decadence. It leads to stagnation because, uh, yeah, I mean, you look at the world today, it is going in direction of uh, public by default, and you see that it's just producing so much noise, so much unnecessary information that's not well structured and that doesn't allow you to really, as you say, like I have that saying, you should control information, information shouldn't control you. And it is getting to the point where people are just overwhelmed with information. It's a form of madness, information overload. And it should be obvious to everyone in society that we just like can't keep going on like this, in a sense that you can't keep triggering people through like mass media that is now, yeah, it's like
Well, I
you,
mean, it could go on for a little bit longer, but at
well,
some point, it's all gonna. My optimistic take has always been that everyone just gets burned so hard that we go back to the basics and people realize the need.
yeah, what also like I come from like different culture where it was much more enforced in a sense that you shouldn't you shouldn't like publicly disclose like stuff that's awkward or shameful about you and all that. So it is more towards private part privacy, minded setup. But what I've also learned is that you do need to let people make mistakes and fail, in a sense. What you're saying, maybe like burn themselves. Sorry, I think that what will happen for most people here is just like they will get better at filtering information. Like if you want to live a normal life, hey, you will just get better at filtering information and news. You're going to find better sources,
Well,
and
yeah.
you will like structure your life in such a way that you have higher level of privacy, and that you're able to, that allows you to live richer life, that allows you to live life where you're not controlled by information outside.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is for the last few decades or many decades, we've slowly, as a society, particularly in the developed world, in America, uh, and elsewhere, we seem to have been groomed as a society to be less and less responsible for our own actions. There's someone holding your hand. There's someone telling you what you cannot do. There's, so-called safety nets. There's all this stuff that takes away the individual's personal responsibility. And getting back to that state is is not going to be an easy process. But ultimately, tools like Bitcoin, tools in the greater open source movement, they require a radical personal responsibility, and for people, that's a massive, like, paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
And it comes with failures. It comes with failures, it comes with getting burned, it comes with learning hard lessons.
Yes, it does. But it's a path we should go down because living in a nanny state. Look at that comment. It,
Comments are lit right now.
yeah, also reading Braj, but like people in Epstein's book seem to have pretty good privacy, to
Yeah,
be
because
honest.
they're wealthy.
Yeah, it's uh,
The wealthy have privacy, and that doesn't mean that might not see them. You might see them on the cover of Vogue, but they're selectively revealing themselves.
very selective and like
Yeah.
creating a narrative
They don't
because
have secrecy. A lot of them don't have secrecy. Some of them do, um, but they have privacy. And then when I look at the way like Bitcoin is unfolding, like there's no doubt in my mind that the wealthy will have privacy.
yeah,
Um, what I'm
absolutely.
concerned about is the other 95%.
Yeah, more like 99%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am concerned about the same thing. My work in Bitcoin ecosystem is the way table is set right now. We are going to towards cyberpunk. It is like high technology, low quality of living, where you have a small percentage of population that managed to elevate themselves to that point where it's just some segments of population will never catch up. It and I like high technology, but I don't like low quality of living for majority of population because it's just yeah
Yeah, so when we look at how
bad.
to solve that or how to mitigate that or how to prevent that outcome from happening, it is basically it's the Bitcoin and open source movement. It's empowering individuals uh, using freedom tech.
Yes, and that's where we now need to stake our claim and draw a line in the sand and fight for it. Like this whole OFAC nonsense comes to Bitcoin. Like okay, let's figure out how to fight back. Otherwise, even for those that will be like fighting us, it's a worse future for most of them. Maybe there is someone on that other side of the fence that will be better off, that will profit individually, but for majority of them that are against us, like it's also worse outcome. Like, why would you want to live in that kind of future? So so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons I I do this podcast and I do a lot of the other things I do in this space is because I think the first and foremost reason is that people just aren't aware of a lot of this shit. They're just in this little ignorant bliss mode, where they're not even thinking about it, right?
Or they're aware of it and are finding a way to like what's the best way to fight in a sense. That's why I that's why I love you, Matt, because you rally the troops and provide actionable uh, as you say, actionable discussions. Like what's the next step? Like your guides on how do you flash your phone with custom ROMs for Android. How do you do this? Like because when you also look at my own contribution to Bitcoin ecosystem, it's not that I had everything figured out on my own. No, I've joined Nicholas, and Nicholas was that leader that said, "Hey, I have a mission. The mission is obsolete BitPay because they publish a bunch of lies. Hey, it's easier. Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna make you obsolete," and he did. He did, and but for me, like looking at my own thing is like it was great that I had a clear cause to join, and I didn't need to invent my own cause. So I think that's what's happening for most people, and I also see it. I also now see it in wider like career field. Like I have a lot of younger developers reaching out and like saying, okay, how to best structure my own contributions in next decade, and I am so glad for Bitcoin because it's such a rich ecosystem with so many quality developers and so many quality projects where people can spend really like meaningful time, the days. Like they can have meaningful impact. It's not that you're working for
Right.
faceless corporation on their closed source CRM number 1 million, like 50.
It's an extremely vibrant, impactful developer community.
Yeah, it's fun being part of this movement, and then thanks to, like I'm telling you, diversity within the community, like anything that you're not specializing for, hey, there is someone that is, and you can follow their lead. Like I make a joke to like all the new podcasts that are starting is like, why are you doing that? That's just, Shill Matt's podcast, and the rest of us gonna rally under the banner. We're gonna do like small episodes, but that's also what's good. Like, okay, try to fork, and if your fork is better, like, okay, let's
I
go.
mean, it's good that I think uh, the Bitcoin content landscape right now is as vibrant as it's ever been. It's robust. It's vibrant. There's too much. There's so much content out there. You can't consume it all, but that's good. People have options. It's not.
Yeah, I mean that's the natural process of replication. That's how it happens. What was one?
But if you look back, even like 4 years ago, on both the developer side and on the content side, the growth has just been tremendous.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just hope it continues. And Rico says, yeah, we're in silent war. We have been losing since internet was created. But I don't know.
I wanted to talk about that because we quoted the Cypherpunk Manifesto, which was written in 1993,
Yep.
so 19 years ago. Like perfectly encapsulates everything we're dealing with, and what the mission forward should be. I mean, it's like the most prescient piece of fucking text ever, and I mean, and so that came out of the crypto wars of the 90s. Do you think are there what is the differences between then and now? I mean, you're an old timer.
Yes, I am.
Have we outperformed in the last 19 years? Like, are we in a much better place than like, I don't know, like 1993 Rockstar would consider uh where we could be in the future? Like, are we doing better than expected, worse than expected?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question because when I read, yeah, Cypherpunk's manifesto, and when I read all, like all the contributions from cypherpunks of old, it is amazing that they had that type of foresight on what is coming up. And it's like clearly described like why it is important that we, fight this fight of decentralization. It's really super inspiring because uh, yeah, it's like the prediction is amazing. So as to like what is it better, is it not? I don't know. I miss
Like, are we doing
BBS's.
good?
Yeah, like I think we are. I mean, I do miss BBS. I miss Earth chats. I miss those, like, but I don't know.
Why do
Yeah,
you miss them?
I miss them because uh, there is not so much gamification, and there is not like so much central control because yeah, we can dislike Twitter as much as we want, but that's the place you go to, discover, so that your
Right.
content gets discovered, and it's a gamified system. And
It's like a pretty
yeah, but
evil platform, right?
yeah, it
Like
is. And
surveillance and manipulation, censorship.
but through all of it, there are some beautiful things happening. It's just okay. Like we moved forward a little bit. We moved backwards, but I think we are advancing now. What's important is, yeah, you have like TikTok. That one will be amazing battle, is because you will now have a social media giant that's outside of US. And
First one,
yeah, really first one when you think about it.
except maybe Telegram.
Well, yeah, Telegram is a good one, but still Telegram is controlled by someone who is not in Russia, right? So
Right.
the guy needed to
But he's not American.
he's not American, but he needed to like leave Russia because his V contact got owned by government,
Yeah, he
right?
had like the Russian Facebook, and like the government took it from him.
Yeah, basically.
Durov. But I one of my favorite tinfoil theories is it's a Russian operation, and that was just the setup.
Oh, so that you
Like him
know,
and Putin had a deal or whatever, and it's like, okay, just leave the.
yeah, and stay our agent. Well, maybe I don't know.
I'm really torn on it because like on the surface, I love Durov. I mean Telegram. I wish was encrypted by default. Um, but I think it's a very powerful platform, and I think he's done a lot of good things for users, um, like very user friendly policies. But there's also like a good chance that uh,
How about we
he's a
get
honeypot for either the U.S. or Russia.
yeah, but how about we get him on Citadel Dispatch and you can ask him like,
Yeah,
are you?
Durov, if you're listening right
Yeah,
now, the invite's open.
hey, I'm gonna like send a message for you, Matt. So we will see. Yeah, but then Telegram, okay, and TikTok. I'm just, to me, it's also like quite obvious that it's already used as a weapon in a sense, like TikTok.
Yeah, Rico in the comments is mentioning Element, which uses Matrix protocol. It's saying it's super encrypted. It is encrypted. We actually have a Matrix chat for Citadel Dispatch. If you look on the screen, that's the other chat that's being shown. You can get to that by going to citadeldispatch.com and clicking citadel.chat. We have over a thousand ride or die freaks in there, and the conversation is always going. It's always great conversation, even when the show is not live. But yeah, TikTok, I mean, is and it's frightening how well oiled that machine is on the TikTok side.
Yeah, we talked here.
Really good surveillance, really good manipulation on that front. Really addicting, super addicting.
Elo, yeah, mentioned
It's
about
like
the
the evolution of.
whole capturing video and mic so that they can get your emotions of when watching. Like, did you really laugh at the video? Like,
Yeah, they like watch your facial reactions and listen to your microphone while you're watching videos, so they can
optimize the algorithm.
harvest that.
Yeah, but
The social media thing really scares the shit out of me. And like I know I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because of my Twitter usage, but Twitter is my only social media. Um,
when
and I try and keep it Bitcoin focused.
I
Um,
I would so, but
but Twitter's an addiction and I should not be using it.
uh,
But
that's
we would have never met.
yeah, that's the point
Yeah.
because like I'm telling
I
you,
go back and forth on it.
if there is Odell TikTok, I'm subscribing to that one definitely. Like that,
Never TikTok. Never TikToker.
I don't know, man. Like I
Marty
yeah,
wanted
sure.
to make a fucking TikTok for RHR, and I was like livid. It was actually on air when I found out. Everyone can go watch the clip. It's in the archives. I don't
Okay.
even. I was against even having an Instagram. Fuck that shit. And then the argument is always like, oh, you can reach more people.
Yes, that's the paradox of
But it's
privacy that
like,
we spoke. It's like if you want to spread the best practices about privacy, you need to be public.
but someone else can. So I've already done enough on that front. Someone else can be the TikTok BTC sessions or whatever. It's like
TikTok, Odell.
TikTok sessions. Um,
Okay, can't wait for
I
outcome.
like
Yeah, but that's
reluctantly added the YouTube because the freaks like using the YouTube. So
convenience. Yeah, but TikTok, Odell. Yeah, well,
it'd be hilarious if there was. I mean, I don't know because I'm not a TikTok, so there might already be one. But if there was like a TikTok influencer that just like constantly just tells you to not use TikTok.
There we go.
But we're getting derailed a little bit. The social media stuff really scares the shit out of me. Uh, Particularly, I want to have a family. Like raising kids in this environment is tricky, and I wonder, like, the kind of damage that's going to happen to the majority of our youth, not my children, but the majority of the youth, uh, due to the influences of all the social media shit.
Yeah, I mean, we actually spoke about it on workshop yesterday. Is because that's exactly where the battle is. Okay, like information is destroying your own life and uh, keeping you occupied every day with like this shit, that shit. Uh, okay, you can battle. You hate yourself the most, anyways. But what about people that are near and dear to you? You don't want them to go through the same thing. It's like
Right.
you don't want to live in a setup where your family, like, information from outside is stronger than the information inside. Like what
So
kind?
you know what I did that was really good hack?
What?
Signal group chats
Yeah.
for family
Yep.
and a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends on that too.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it's all about.
It's
It's
like it's a good balance because
structuring.
I tell them I know they want to share baby pictures. I know they
Yeah.
want to share all these different photos and stuff. I'm like, do not post them on Facebook.
Yeah.
You can spam us in the Signal chat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that's practical application of what we are talking about. Is like you get everyone from Viber or stuff like that. Okay, get them onto Signal, create
Do people
groups for
still
them.
use Viber?
Yeah, they do, man. They do. It's just like
Blast from the
convenience.
past on that one. Viber's
Well,
like the walkie-talkie one, right?
no, I mean
It's primarily the voice messages, right?
like it's still messages
Yeah,
but it's what people use listen, even that one is okay, at least like it's not Facebook Messenger. Like you tell people like get out of that shit, and you help them. Like, that's practical application where you say, okay, I set up a group for you. There is auto deleting messages. Okay, let's go with baby pictures. But thank that baby when grows up, like, will be so thankful that okay, grandma has the picture, but it's not like
like millions of servers around
yeah,
the world.
yeah, I mean, imagine that where like you go to your to school like your 5th or 6th grade, and like everyone has a pictures of you being like for your baby. It's just crazy. It's like
Right.
that's your information, that's piece of you. Like it shouldn't be under control of everyone. So yeah, you yeah, you brought up a good point because
If there's someone out there listening and watching this that's at Bitcoin Park right now, can you bring me a beer? A Pilsner would be great. That'd be fucking awesome.
yeah,
Do you want something, Rockstar?
nah, I'm good, but
Rockstar's good.
see
Appreciate you.
see how you're using the convenience, man. Like I'm blasting the information worldwide just for a beer. Uh,
It seemed like a interesting opportunity. I didn't know what to do.
yeah, it is. That's
It's pretty cool because when we go live, usually people have it on the TVs in the park. So,
hey, that's exactly illustrating our point. But
what
that's
were I cut you off? What were we talking about?
no, no, no. I was talking exactly about this, and we are now no, we're getting into signal groups, and we're getting into
Right, signal
nibs,
groups.
and there is a beer. Look at that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That was a really quick turnaround. Appreciate you.
And now that's actually, yeah, recorded forever. So whoever wants to listen about names and code,
uh, 10,000 sats to the freak who figures out how much time that took between the request and the delivery.
yeah, this is definitely illustrating our points. But ready to go into names?
Sure.
So as I talked on the panel, for me, uh, everyone is talking about privacy as that trade-off, security, convenience. It is about robustness. And I have a system where for every identity you come up with, you need to have three Nyms. So uh, your listeners, like, yeah, freaks, they're good with that. But I always encourage people to at least like start with one Nym and test out how that works for them.
Yeah, we have a heavy Nim listener base.
Yeah, but that's how it's supposed to be. I just think that people invest too much time into building reputation like one Nym. Like you need to use Nyms to explore uh, things that you really want to explore without any breaks, without any uh, reservations. Like, hey, I really want to see how I want to experience something, and that's where like I'm really surprised. Like I think I always thought everyone had like a name that's like sexy girl and invested time into it. Like, did you ever, Matt, had that name?
Did what?
A name when you were a sexy girl?
No, but I do have a funny story with that. That's someone who went to uh, after I graduated college.
Okay,
Someone from my same college I was currently enrolled, so
yeah,
my alma mater, got interested in Bitcoin,
yeah.
saw that I was interested in Bitcoin, and like reached out to me to like get my advice on how he should approach his career. But to get my attention, he DM'd me from his extremely large Nim account, which was uh, like classy white girl or something, and he had like a
There we go.
million and a half followers.
There we go.
And his first message was like, "I know this is weird, but I'm a dude, and I go to blah blah school, and I would love to have a coffee with you."
There we go. Like, but yeah, but that's actually a big mistake. Like, oh, he felt so insecure that he will not respond, so he
Yeah.
needed to use like his
He was
most
a good dude
powerful
though.
nib. Yeah,
If he's
but
listening, shout out to him.
yeah, but look at that. Uh, that's interesting. But to me, like you need to explore that, and that builds your root identity in a sense with knowledge and like better understanding interactions between people. Plus, yeah, if you have 1.5 million followers, I mean, you can start your cosmetics line. Like that's an option.
He's probably doing that right now.
Hey, more power to you. I mean, I want some royalties though. So
I
reach out to me.
look at
Like,
Braj BRB installing Bob's. Um, I know. I'm obviously like on the NIM scale, that is more difficult going cross gender,
well,
right? Like, isn't one of the easy tricks that I've always done with NIMS is you try and keep some. It's easier if there's some similarities.
I don't know.
There's easier if there's some consistency, like a bedrock of truth that you can kind of go off of. And like, there's no bedrock of truth if I was gonna pretend to be a woman on the internet.
why isn't like there is a feminine side in you? Yeah,
You should see the face he's
yeah,
giving me as he says this. This
yeah.
is why it's important to do him in person. Just he's looking me right in the eye as he says this.
Yeah. I mean,
Stop trying to seduce me on air.
okay, if that's how you read it, but no, there is like feminine side inside of you, and if it's not, that nim will allow you to develop it.
Yes, James. Nim means pseudonym. So like Braj or rockstardev or James potentially, if that's not your legal name.
Yeah.
Some people choose like real looking Nims, like John Smith or something like that. And others choose um,
Rockstar.
Rockstar Dev
Yeah.
with a zero.
Yeah. Well, just Rockstar Dev wasn't available, and there is the whole GTA thing. So yeah, but that's why people think, oh, you need to make a choice. You don't like create one name with name like Rockstar Dev. Create one with John Smith or Matt Odell. It's a great name, you know. So uh, go for it and see how it will impact your identity and reputation building. And we actually had that question: if I could do it all over again, would I choose like
Yeah,
the?
I asked you that. Would you choose a real looking name?
And I
Because like
told,
everyone knows you weren't born rockstar dev.
and yeah, then I brought up that I can actually change name it. Yeah, actually born rockstar dev, but no, I wouldn't. I think
You like the flair of picking.
yes, and it allowed me to experience identity that has like kind of catchy, name. So it allows me to, yeah, explore being a rock star, right? Becoming one. It is, it's really
Can you play any instruments?
well, I'm not that type of a rock star. I'm like party rock star, which is what was experienced
You were out
yesterday.
pretty late last night.
Yeah, yeah, I yeah, I need to get Rod in here to share some of the details. But to me, yeah, it definitely developed the rockstar persona inside of me. And I mean, you even witnessed some media in that direction that we were talking about. It's like, yeah, pics and videos that I didn't even know were took, but it's like you can be whatever you like. That's the thing, and you just need to commit to it, stick with it, and if it's not working out, okay, move on. If it's working out, you can keep doubling down until you get to the point where it's obvious that information is controlling you way more than you're controlling information, and then it's time for funeral, and you move on.
So I have a question for you. A week ago or something like that, I don't even know how to keep track of time anymore. It all kind of just blends together. Uh, CoinDesk released an article about these shitcoin devs, these Solana devs. There's two brothers that basically operated like 14 Nyms or something like that, and were running, like a massive amount of the volume of Solana was just these two brothers pretending to be like 14 projects,
Yeah.
and they doxed the brothers in the article. And they had the brothers, I guess, felt guilty at one point, and they wrote like a draft post doxing themselves, but they never published it. And then it got leaked to CoinDesk, and CoinDesk doxed them. And I posted something
Yeah,
which
I
I
saw.
stand behind about doxing is not okay. You can't dox people. Um, if you believe there's fraud, you can deal with a fraud case separately. But you shouldn't dox people. What is your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, you approached that problem from the perspective of like it's not okay or moral to control someone else's information on their behalf. Is basically that's the lens through which you are looking the problem. But it is a situation where things are already at the point where you can't have a
And when we say dox to the freaks that are confused, we mean they release their legal names
they're like
publicly.
root identities.
Yeah.
And yeah, the point is that situation is already uh, at state where there can't be uh, a reasonable or quality outcome. And it more the problem is earlier than that. The problem is Solana that they need to have this fake traffic in
Right. If
order
you can
to be.
have if you can have a metric faked, then no one should follow that metric anyway. If a metric can be gamed, you assume it's gamed. Um,
Yeah, so
and then
that
I would also say on the other end, there is it's definitely valid that those guys should assume that people are going to try and dox them and make it as
yeah, so it's just a shitty situation out of which you cannot draw out quality conclusions. It's
yeah,
just like uh, once you're at that point, is like okay, like CoinDesk is doing it for
clicks.
clicks.
Yeah, 100% for clicks.
These people like okay, it's already you don't have unified outcome. You just have everyone scrambling for themselves and covering their asses. So what you need to do in situations like that is like start looking back in order to draw out to like quality conclusions. Like don't once yeah once you're already deep in shit, like you're not getting out of that situation like clean. So yeah, should Coindesk dox them or not? Like
I mean, they could have released the whole article, everything they wrote, because the big argument they made was, protecting the public. You could release a whole article without putting their legal names in it.
you could, but hey, judgment call. They were like,
Mm.
oh, they did bad to other people, so we are justified in we want to hurt them. And you're like, well, did you really need to do it? Like, yes, I did. Okay, what can I tell you? The important thing is don't get into a situation to the point where it like you're not controlling information. Like, okay,
Right. Ultimately, it was the brothers'
it's
uh,
hey, what you're
responsibility to
it is like
protect that information.
it is, and it's like okay, w- we can talk about standards or how it should be approached, but hey, you need to control your information. Otherwise, you're leaving it up to other people to control it and arrange it in such a way that benefits them, which is what you're talking about. Is like, and you're also talking about like what's more important is like it's not only your information but the information of your family and people near and dear to you. Like the reason why you set up signal group for your people that are close to you is like okay, like Facebook can't have this information.
Yeah.
So
And it gets really challenging, right? Because you're relying, like, if you have a circle, you're relying on the people in your circle to make good choices as well.
yep, exactly. And what Rico is now also saying, like doxing is putting someone's life on the line. If you are really in those situations, it's like, hey, you need to have multiple layers of identities so that you just do not allow for those outcomes. You can have a kill switch. So,
Do you remember when the Wall Street Journal like doxed where the guy who created Coin Market Cap lived?
no, I
Yeah.
actually missed that one.
It was pretty fucked up. It was like 4 years ago or something like that.
Well,
3 years ago. He sold it to Binance since then.
well, if you're that guy, is like, well, I guess I'm moving.
They literally took a picture of the building he lived in New York and put it in the paper.
That's yeah, that's like okay. I guess I'm moving because
They were like, "This man did a $500 million in revenue last year or whatever, and here's where he lives." Like that was like the article. It was fucking insane.
but that's exactly where we have like privacy is necessary for open society and digital age.
Eric Hughes again,
Yeah, it's
1993.
1993. It's like yeah, it is because otherwise you will have situations like that where it's just nonsense. Like you have all this media that has uh, amazing amount of power and can blast amazing amounts of information in the direction of various people. Like if you do not have privacy, how do you even structure your life in such a way that you can survive those blasts?
Right.
Like, and to me, like I referenced it, the workshop like last 7 years, well, 7 years here in the US, where you had media, like mainstream media, blast crazy types of information in the direction of people, like expressing their own frustrations. And as a result, like teared so many families apart on like trivial issues, really, when you scratch the surface. And it's like, oh, it's not trivial. Like, yes, it is from perspective of that family.
Right.
It's like they were living their life and you just like took this crazy information, just like blasted it in their direction, like separating them. And then it's really getting to the point where it's everyday decisions. It's like, honey, we should buy Alexa. It's like, no, 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 like we can't. Like, no, 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 we need to buy Alexa. And you suddenly have a conversation that needs to,
Did your lady bought Alexa?
well,
Or is you speaking figuratively?
I'm speaking completely figuratively.
Uh,
I'm, yeah. But yeah, that's also the point. Is like
Fucking Alexis, man.
it's then 30-minute conversation that you need to have. You need to
Alexa,
process.
turn off the lights.
Now, my favorite one is with Alexa is when you go to, like, I had this situation like in one household where like child started crying, like was upset, didn't get candy, and it was like Alexa was like, "Hey, how can I help?" Like, "Do you need do you need 911?" It's like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Okay, now you need to explain to Alexa like what is happening." So
It's just amazing that we're in a world where like people just install wiretaps in their house for convenience.
I
Literally an always on listening device that pipes right into a surveillance company's servers.
hey, it's more interesting world, but the whole point is like now now you have another point through which you need to feed information. Like now you need to explain to your Alexa like why there was a kid crying. When
Right, that's
government,
going in the file.
yeah, that's going in the file, and now like government needs to process it. Like why?
The really bad one recently is because like look, if people want to just put if people want to put wiretaps in their house, um, I'm not gonna go into their house. So
Good luck with that.
it doesn't affect me as much. But the Ring cameras that people are putting, the Amazon surveillance cameras on their front door,
So convenient.
and you're walking down the street and you walk past like 10 of them on your like morning walk or
Yep,
something,
you're captured.
is so fucked. And they spread so quickly. They're everywhere. And
Ye-
they gave there was 11 times this year, it just came out 11 times this year they gave footage to police without warrants because you're not protected by the Fourth Amendment because Amazon has possession of the video. It's not your video, it's Amazon's. So it's not warrantless search and seizure.
Well, that's where we need to improve free open source software and provide a stack where people are hosting. Like, okay, I'm hosting my own videos. I'm in control. So it is protected under
But
fork.
it's funny because that's how all the video cameras used to work. You
Yeah.
used to have like a
And
server on premise that would hold all the video.
yeah. And
And that's
this,
what we have at the park.
yeah,
But
and
we've come full circle. It's like,
it's more convenient. And if you see, like, even people like saying, got doxxed by Casa today.
oh, did you see the Casa docs today?
Yeah, it's terrible because,
It was
okay, it's like
so bad. It was
technically,
names, addresses.
hey, it's how it is, and you have all these regulations that are like, oh, you should, like, in their case, was it even like, were they required to send that, or they were
It
just using it
was
as a
it
part of
was
stack?
it was their store where they sold, like, hardware wallets and Faraday bags and stuff, so it wasn't all of their users, it was anyone who bought items on their store, and they used a third party payment processor, and as a result, that third party payment processor, got compromised.
Well, that's how it goes.
What was the list? The list is crazy. Names, emails, phone numbers, shipping and billing addresses, and products ordered.
That's why we're talking about privacy and creating systems where all that information, okay, and again, Cypherpunk's manifesto, where it's like, if I want to buy a magazine, I will give you a, cash and give me back magazine. Like, you don't need to know everything about my history to like complete this transaction. And once transaction is completed, like that piece of information needs to, okay, it's like 1 month and delete it. Because if we do not really come together and build systems like that, like, it will be chaos. It's a society in which, like, yeah, you don't want to live. Because what you're mentioning with Ring cameras, it is funny. Like, someone gets access to all those videos like in real time, which is quite possible, and you can identify exactly, hey, this person is here, this person is there.
Yeah, so I mean, there was, I think a book was written with the title, and then it became almost like a very common saying or meme, which is, data is the new oil, because all these different companies basically monetize data. It was like this new web business model, which was surveil your users, um, collect as much data on them as possible, and then use that data to monetize the users and manipulate them to increase their revenue even more. Um, but the way I've always looked at data is that it's this massive liability, and we have Raj saying that in the comments, um, where it's the opposite of oil. Oil is a profitable thing that you have. Um, to me, data is almost toxic as a company. You want to have as little data as possible on your users because um, it makes it more secure for everybody, and it reduces your own legal liability in that situation, or moral liability. And I wonder if we will see a pivot there, if we will see a situation where, because we already see it we see it a lot in the Bitcoin ecosystem, where projects try and limit the amount of data they have on their users intentionally. You don't really see it as much in the wider world, but sometimes you see it.
Yeah,
Like Signal, I think Signal would be a good example, right? Signal tries to hold as little data as possible on their users.
yeah, and it's really about understanding how much information you can control, because information wants to be free. And if you try to keep information contained in such a way to like facilitate a robust system, but if you throw too much information in the system and get to the point where information can't be processed, like that's where all the problems are happening. And I am glad that there is, yeah, that movement, the realization of like we actually don't want to hold like users information, which is also the decision in BTC Pay server project. It's like you saw a privacy policy of BTC Pay server.
Was it just Dorier's face?
Yeah, kinda. It's like, yeah, we
That's
don't.
like the 404, right, or whatever.
Yeah, it's 404, but privacy policy is like we don't collect any information by like that's the privacy
Yeah, I have
policy.
seen that.
So that's, and the thing is also is
That's beautiful.
it is, but that's as a developer you want to contribute to like system like that. You don't want to
Right.
be contributing to a system where like, okay, this is my weekly meeting with lawyers. Let's go
Well,
over
so
updating.
you must feel a battle there because you contribute to both.
Oh, yeah,
You have the strike and BTC Pay.
I, yeah. Let's not even get into the subject, like
Fair
how,
enough.
how much more time we have, or it will be like 4 hour episode. But my
Done
point
it
there
before.
is, what?
I said we've done it before.
Yeah, but my point there is, this is also where our discussion about names is so important, is because, hey, that root identity of yours that you like, okay, you don't want to change it, like, okay, you don't want to change name, you can change address, but okay, you don't want to change name. Hey, don't use that identity for anything. Like just take at least an effort to come up with different first name, last name if you're still ordering to that mailing address. And then you will at least have that level of disconnect. Like, okay, it's not tied to your other information. It won't be as easy to tie. Or uh, get traveling mailbox, like get those forwarding services, especially if you're ordering something that's related to in this case like money, like Bitcoin. Because if you don't, yeah, it is a problem that's festering. And then also companies in this space, like that are like companies in Bitcoin space, like, okay, let's make an effort to go towards deletion of data. Like, did you really need to have that data on the service for a year?
Right.
Say, let's,
That's what we see. I mean, NVK does that with CoinKite.
yeah,
They
amazing.
do auto deletes, I think 90 days.
Perfect. Let's start pounding the point where hey,
I mean, we've seen so many data leaks, especially recently. I mean, Swan got hit this week as well.
well,
It was the second time Swan has gotten hit in a couple of months, I think. Um, Unchained had been hit previously. a lot of the crypto services. BlockFi got hit really hard.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's what I'm telling you, Matt, is that
and one of the reoccurring things that you see is not only okay, so reduce the information you collect, reduce the amount of time you hold it for to the bare minimum. Sometimes regulations and stuff require you to hold things. Um, but then the third thing is reduce your reliance on trusted third parties as an organization. So like everyone in Bitcoin pretty much coalesces around, Nick Szabo and trusted third parties or security holes. Um, but there's like a disconnect there as soon as you get to the company, because then the companies all are using their own trusted third parties. So not only you're trusting the company, but then you're trusting, it's like a Russian doll thing. It's like
yeah,
you're trusting, there's trusted third parties all the way fucking down.
yeah, because regulation requires it, and there are
Yeah.
companies that
But
specializes in licensing.
there's some businesses where it doesn't. So like Ledger's third party marketing email service, whatever, got compromised. And that's how the 1 million Ledger users got doxxed.
Yeah,
Uh, there was no regulation that required them to use that trusted third party. NVK does all of his marketing in house, right? It was just treated with a lack of regard.
it is what is happening in wider society, because what that convenience factor you're mentioning, it's like it allows you to get ahead. It's like you're using that service, and now you don't need to actually spend time building a robust service. But it's all trade off. It's like cost benefit. But it goes back to what we were talking about Nyms. It's like, would it be great that others treat your information and your identity with respect? Like, yes, it is. But at the end of the day, it's like it's up to you, and it's positioning yourself and putting yourself in situation where, okay, something happens, it's not catastrophic loss. It's basically, yeah, what can you do? So
Right.
that's like I'm telling you, this whole thing also with Rockstar. I don't need to die tomorrow, but my identity and my the way that I structure interactions with the world, like it will be much better if I die tomorrow than in like 2 years.
What do you aim to get out of ending this NIM?
Uh, Control of information. Like Rockstar Persona is already at the point where so much stuff is happening that's beyond my control, and it's not obvious because it didn't bubble up to the level of public discourse. But like DMs that I'm getting, like pictures of me and that type of stuff is it's just like
Time for a fresh start.
it is time for a fresh start. And it's also like I'm telling you, it's good to have those closures because Rockstar Persona takes a lot of time. I mean, like preparing this funeral,
I
like
mean, obviously there's a
yeah,
trade-off here, right? That if you just stopped interacting with the world from the Rockstar identity and cycled to a new identity and didn't, you know, host a funeral at publicly and talk about it publicly, it would have been it'd be easier to do it, right? Like you're definitely.
yes, but it
So what
wouldn't
do you aim to achieve by making it a public thing?
inspire others.
Yeah.
Like give a blueprint, get people thinking about, hey, can do the same. Like experience it as well. I mean, I yeah, I could like have just like I could just stop responding to your messages and like what happened, right?
Yeah.
But it's it's nice to have this kind of closure, right? With you joining tomorrow and like Livera and Zuko and see, there is a reason why funerals exist. So to me, it's also yeah, it's that closure, and it is okay. There is a selfish component as well, like me experiencing that. So when time comes for my root identity, I will be better prepared, right? I
Well, when you actually die,
well, yeah, like well, my root identity when it dies, yeah, it will be better prepared.
I feel like we should like lock you in a closet or something while we're doing the funeral, because like people shouldn't be able to observe their own funeral. seems like it's unfair.
Huh. Why?
Like we have this, see this producer's closet here? It's completely soundproof. Like not only can you not hear anything outside, but like no one would even hear you scream in there. So
So you gotta lock me up there with a
lock you in
phone?
there, do the funeral, and
Oh,
then you can come out as a new identity. And I mean, you didn't know who Rockstar was because you were just born tomorrow. So like you didn't miss anything. You just fucking died.
so I'm not like even listening to the funeral as it's
Oh no,
happening.
you can never listen to it. No one's ever able to listen to their own funeral.
Now this is now all you wanting to be in control. Or eulogy like absolutely sucks, so you don't want me to hear it.
Well, usually you don't have the pressure of the person who's dying hearing the eulogy, right?
Yeah. Well, sorry, Matt, you got to do this for me. And well, like, you could just roast him. Rico is saying, "Oh, well, that's why Zuko is there. Like, if anyone can roast other people, it's him."
It is nice that it's usually not couth to roast someone at their funeral, but
No, you should
if they're
absolutely
there to
roast
listen,
me.
then it is.
That's exactly what it's all about. Is like you should do as much a remembrance of crazy moment as you can. Like you and I, like those moments that you remember. Like, okay, yeah, you will talk about them. Then with Zuko, oh fuck, with Zuko, actually, I'm not sure he can share some of the moments, like some of the best moments, because yeah, they were tricky. But Livera, oh, same thing. But
Lavera's gonna sing.
yeah, he will. I mean, you heard it today. Like it's pretty good, right? Why are you laughing? It
It
was
it
pretty
was
good.
it was pretty good. Yes.
And like look at the fact that you're like, oh, you're doing this funeral. Like, what's the point? Now with Livera, listeners of Dispatch can know that he will sing American anthem. So imagine the gift to the world
Star
with,
Spangled Banner.
yeah, like how Livera said it. He's like,
You know we don't like do that at funerals, right?
Why not?
Is that like the stereotypical American funeral? Is that what you're
It
thinking
should,
in your
yeah, it
head?
should be, yeah. Me as immigrant,
I
like,
think some of them they do, but I don't
hey,
know.
I want to, I like, yeah, I will be like, even press F to pay respect. That will be the whole deal. But no, with Livera, he said it well. Like, so he's, uh, sh- yeah, that bold, shiny head singing. Oh my god! See, like it's already becoming a
I love how
meme.
you just like blindly read. You just like blindly read the comment.
Hey, I needed to read this comment, but it's not bold, shiny head. It's absolutely polished podcaster. Like we love the Aussies. We love Livera. So grateful for that.
Yeah, it'd be a good time. I mean, we had a lot of people come in just for it, which is cool.
It is. And again, if it
We have
inspires,
2 people in the studio who came in just for it.
yeah, they're like
And they sat in for the conversation.
live listening. But if it inspires at least one more funeral, like I would be happy. And then we can start iterating on Nyms. And Gigi also tweeted well, like one dies, 21 rise. You know, when Rockstar is dead and there is like a need to contribute more in the space, like some other developers are gonna step up. I know it. So need to free up the space.
Are you ever going to come on Dispatch again on your new identity?
Well, I don't know. Let's first get you Durov, right? And then if I come, I also need to set up the voice synthesis as
Are
well.
you concerned about the voice because your voice is pretty doxed on this identity?
Yeah, if I'm ever public on another identity, it will need to be a voice synthesis because, like I'm telling you, maybe it's my professional deformity, but I love well structured systems as like engineer, and I I really want to like stop the spillover, and I want to wrap up Rockstar Identity and like, okay, it's closure because every idiot can start a thing. It's hard to like finish a thing. So yeah, if there is a public identity, I definitely need to do voice synthesis. I'm ready for online podcasts. So you, like most people, saw my setup, usual with
Right.
money burning in the background, and you have voice synthesis easily. But for this like in-person setups, like I need to figure something out.
There should be something you can just like. I have this mixer that I'm looking at right here. It's got to be something you can do with it.
Well, first, yeah, let me die, rest in peace a
Yeah, we'll
little
figure it
bit.
out. First, we have to make the funeral happen.
We will. It will be amazing tomorrow, and yeah.
Rockstar, it's been an honor and a pleasure. This has been a fantastic conversation. Um,
Well, we didn't spend too much time this time. Yeah. Being a how did you call it last one? Therapy.
Last time was an Odell therapy session. I appreciated it.
Oh,
But
it,
I'm in a better place now.
yeah, but now it's actually
Now
like
I
a
think I need to give
therapy.
you therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what friends are for, right? We got
yeah,
as long as we don't both need it at the same time, then we're good.
yeah.
You have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I do. I want to say I love you, man. So you were right. I was hitting on you, and the reason why I'm doing it is just like when I'm gone, like keep inspiring people. Like I know it's not easy. I know we're draining you with all the demands and like Matt, like moderate this panel, Matt, organize this open source stage. But hey, man, who else if not you? So you should also consider starting Uncle program. Like get nephew. See, I have my nephew here in studio. It helps out. So whenever you struggle, Matt, remember this and keep pushing on until you decide to die.
I appreciate you, brother. The feeling is mutual. Um, yeah, heck of a rip. Heck of shout out to Rockstar, man. It's been a good run.
It has.
It's both beautiful and horrible to see it ending. But I'm glad to be a part of it.
Old man must
I
die.
remember when you were just a little rock star,
Tiny,
the little
tiny.
tyke,
Ah.
arguing about shitcoin support.
Well, that got me a brother that will carry on in my name as well.
But it's been a true pleasure. Well, thank you, my dude, for joining us. Always good having you in town. Always good kicking it. I hope whoever you become visits us in Nashville very often, and hopefully we have many good times in the future with whoever the
No, no, no. I
new
will
you
always
is.
be a rock star to you.
Um, I want to thank all the freaks who joined us today. It's been a great day. We have some great plans tonight, so it should be a lot of fun. I hope you all have good plans. Spend time with friends and family this weekend. As always, I skipped the intro for this one because we did a doubleheader. But I really do appreciate all you freaks who join us in the live chat, whether that's on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, or Matrix. Appreciate you all who subscribe to the show and share with your friends and family. And I especially appreciate y'all who continue to support the show, whether that's through Podcasting 2.0 or the BTC Pay server instance at citadeldispatch.com or the Paynim. Appreciate it. I really do. Usually I read the top 4 boosts from the previous episode, but the previous rip was with Sid about 5 hours ago. The amazing thing is there's already more than 4 freaks who have submitted boostergrams. We have Blockchain Boog, 5,000 sats, saying time to go to a meetup. What an inspiration. And then we have Tron Sington, 100 sats, no message. Boschko, 50 sats, no message. And FW7, 50 sats, no message. And Slim Shady, 50 sats, no message. Appreciate all you freaks. If you haven't listened to the other two pods, dispatches we ripped this week, consider going back and listening to them at your leisure. I am well aware that I am doing these in kind of a crazy schedule, but the way I look at it is I could hold on to them myself and curate it for you and decide when you get to listen to them, or I could drop them all on you when they're recorded, because I love these live shows, and you can listen to them or watch them at your leisure, whether that's on Bitcoin TV or Telegram or your podcast app. So got to just practice some of that personal responsibility we like to talk about all the time. Rockstar, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Matt.
Cheers to you. Stay humble, stack sats, freak.